In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to make Instagram profile visit ads hyper profitable. Now, these are the traditional Instagram follow ads, and specifically, I'm going to walk you through what a follower ad actually is, when you should look at using these and when you shouldn't look at using these, some of the gold standard KPIs that we're shooting for in my business and my clients, and then some of the keys to actually making these ads really perform. Because if you've used these before, you'll know that they can be hit and miss, but they can be very profitable at the same time. Now, if we haven't met before, my name is Josh Bowers, and I've been in the online coaching space since 2019. Made a little bit over $1.5 million to date. My first coaching program was called the Bikini Body Project. Started that in December of 2019, scaled it to $500,000 in revenue. I had 300 clients go through the program. At one point, I had 100 active clients on the team with just me running it, so no team actually supporting it. Decided to close that down in 2022. Spent about 6 months trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Decided to jump the fence and do business coaching, which is what I do now with Freedom Coach, so helping other online fitness coaches do essentially what I did. I've scaled that business to over 100 clients through there and made about $1.2 million-ish from that business as well. Now, the purpose of these videos is just to show you what has worked for me over the years, what hasn't worked, and then what I'm currently doing and also my current clients as well. Now, let's get into what a follower ad actually is. There's two types of follow ads that you can run now. The first one is the traditional one that most people know. It's looking at boosting content from your profile. Ideally, you want to look at boosting something that has been proven organically, so it's got a good amount of likes, a good amount of shares, a good amount of saves, good amount of views on it, something that's going to be of value, so your intended viewer is actually going to get something from consuming that piece of content. And then it does need to be niche specific, because you might have something that has been proven organically, but it could just be some video that's just like a silly video or a skit or a cat falling off a roof or something like that, that isn't necessarily going to be attracting your target person to your account. And that's how these follower ad works, is it's just a piece of content running on the feed that is attracting people to your profile. The campaign objective is more profile visits, which just means that that piece of content is running generally in the Reels feed and the Stories feed, and then the button on the ad says visit Instagram profile. You would have seen these ads before. So if the organic content that you're posting has nothing to do with the type of offer that you sell, it's going to be very silly to actually try and boost something that way. So just make sure that it is niche specific. The second type of follower ad is then the more traditional approach, which is the direct follow me type ad, so a direct call to action. Fortunately, now you can just upload these videos without needing to post them as a post to the feed anymore. There's a new feature in Instagram where you can do this, but this is just the classic, are you this person with this problem? Well, you're probably experiencing XYZ things. Just like my client who achieved this and my client who achieved this, we know how to do it a different way. Come follow my account and I'll show you how it's done. That's like the generalized framework, and there's obviously a few variations of that work, but those are the two traditional follower ads. Now, when you should look at using these versus not using these, the first one is going to be cash flow. So a lot of the guys in the space will tell you that you shouldn't be running ads until you're at $10,000 a month. Some other people say $100,000 a month. Depends on who you talk to is going to have these standards on when you should and shouldn't run ads. I think you can run ads a lot sooner than what most people say, but these are my conditions around running ads. Cash flow is going to be the first one. You're looking at spending around $20 per day on the bottom end when you start running these ads. So if you don't have $140 a week spare to actually invest into ads and have them potentially not work because, hey, that's a part of running ads, then I wouldn't recommend running them. But if you do have cash flow where you can spend $20, $30, $40, $50 per day on ads, then I don't really care what stage of business that you're at, because ads are just like pouring gasoline on a fire, right? The more petrol you pour on a fire, it just goes boom and it can explode. So they can fast track your results. The next thing to consider here is that if the content on your profile is not aligned with who you're trying to attract, then these ads are not going to perform very well whatsoever. It's really, really important that you have good quality content on your profile that is aligned with the person that you are trying to attract. So you could call this your ICP, your niche, however you wanted to describe that target person. If the content isn't aligned, the ads are not going to work. But on the flip side of that, if you do have very good content on your profile already, then sure, you can definitely look at running these ads. The next one is just having clarity around the niche, offer, and messaging. This is one of the most important parts of knowing when you should and should not be using these ads. And I say this because if you just help busy people lose weight, or I help busy men get lean, it's just not specific enough, and your ads will not work, because when you talk to everybody, you end up talking to nobody. So if you don't have a clear niche, if you don't have a compelling offer, if your messaging isn't crystal clear, then these ads will not work. And again, on the flip side of that, if all that's clear and it's locked in and it's validated, amazing, go for it. Next one is just then having nurture systems in place. So this is a big one. The Instagram profile visit ads are not saying like, hey, do you want to buy my coaching program? They're more so just saying like, hey, are you interested in my content? Well, come and check it out and follow me and I'll show you more of that. And then the key is having nurture systems in place that move people through the different stages in your sales funnel. So if you don't have a good strategy around your stories, if your content isn't very good, if you don't have a DM process, if you don't have a sales call process, then it doesn't matter how many leads you get, you're going to fumble those leads, because these ads almost work as, like, I call it an incubator, right? It's filling an incubator with leads, and then it's up to your nurture systems, which is your whole Instagram profile, to actually nurture these people, to incubate them and get them ready to hatch and ideally become a client. Next one is then getting some gold standard KPIs. So these are the KPIs that we shoot for. Cost per follow, floating anywhere from sort of $1 to $5. Now this is going to be niche dependent. I'm in the B2B space, so when I'm running these ads, I'm looking at paying anywhere from sort of $5 to $15 sometimes for a lead. And that's totally fine, because my program ticket price is obviously going to be a lot higher comparative to, say, something like a fitness coaching offer. But if you're in a relatively standard niche, you've got a relatively standard offer, like you might be men's fat loss, women's fat loss, muscle gain, any sort of transformation, you're looking around the $1 to $5 mark. If you're in a highly competitive market, let's say like men in their 20s who are wanting to put on muscle, it's a very sort of popular niche to be in. Sometimes that cost per follower is going to be a little bit higher. Next one is then looking at your ROAS, so return on ad spend. Anything above 3 is really good. Some other guys are going to say, oh, you need to have a 10 or a 15. Some people will go below that as well. But for me, if you are getting a ROAS that is above 3, then I pretty much know that things are working. Same thing within my business. And if you look at it this way, what ROAS is for every dollar you put in, it's X amount back. So if you're getting a 3, that means that you're basically profiting $2 on the dollar that you're putting in. So like for every dollar that goes in, you get $3 back. It's an amazing trade-off, and anything above that, you're printing money at that point. A lot of guys get really greedy with this, and they're like, oh, my ROAS is only 4, it's only 5. But like, how much better do you want it? You essentially have a cheat code to making money. So for me, anything over a 3 and I'm absolutely wrapped, and I will actually look at scaling that at that point as well. Final gold standard KPI here is just then your CPA. So this is your cost per acquisition. So if you don't have much experience with ads, essentially what this means is when you're running ads, you're paying for those ads to be shown on the feed. So when you make sales, you are essentially paying for that client to join your program. So for me, I like to shoot for a 20% or less CPA of the total program value. So an example of this would be, let's say your fitness coaching offer is $2,000, 20% of that 2K is $400. So if the CPA is $400 or less, you're sitting in a very good spot. That means you're profiting $1,600 on top of that. Now you could sit back and be like, oh, $400 is a lot of money to spend, but look at the profit that's being made. You're making $1,600, and it just makes things a lot more predictable within your business. If you're just relying on organic content, sometimes the algorithm might have a change or whatever, and that can really impact things. Whereas these ads, they're always running. So yes, you're paying for clients, but you're also paying for predictability as well. Most of the guys in my program see CPAs for like $100 to $200 on a coaching offer that's anywhere from sort of $1,500 to $2,500, somewhere around that mark. So most of the time, if your stuff is dialed in, you're going to see way less than a 20% CPA anyways. But this is sort of my benchmark to be aiming for. In terms of the keys to making them perform, first thing is making sure that you've got your straight line dialed in. Now, what I mean by this is you must have messaging congruence from ad to content to your offer. So an example of a non-straight line would be you have an ad running that's for women's 40 plus weight loss. That ad is running, it's getting attention, people are clicking it, but then they come to your profile and a lot of your content seems to be like it's aimed towards women in their 20s. So it's not completely off, but it's still not like super aligned and it's not making sense. It's not 100% congruent. And then they get to your offer, which is the thing that you're, let's say, promoting your program, and you're talking about how it's a build muscle and restore your metabolism offer. Again, it's not 100% off, but it's still not what the ad promised. So your ad, content, and offer all need to mimic the same message the whole way through. You need messaging congruence. Otherwise, you won't have a straight line and people won't efficiently move through your sales process and your sales funnel. The next thing is just getting your targeting locked in. You can have a really good ad, but sometimes it's just a matter of finding the right pocket of people to get that ad in front of. So let's say you have an audience that's in the US, the population size there is like 350 million people. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time trying to find the right sort of interests to target and the right age range and the right locations and things like that. So you do have to play around with this and just test different things. That's why the cash flow principle here is so important, because you're not just going to turn ads on and all of a sudden they're printing money. It can take a lot longer than what you think to actually get ads profitable. That's why it's also important to have someone guide you, because they will already know like the sort of industry standards on targeting. Like my guys, they all pretty much just follow the same targeting setups and it pretty much always works because it's tried and tested, right? Targeting's a big one though, is you've got to get your targeting right. The next one, and this is possibly one of the most important ones, is just having a really good offer. If your ad is generic, if your offer is generic, like I help busy, motivated individuals lose weight and feel amazing, it's just not going to sell very well. We're in 2026 now. A lot of people have been with a coach before, they've been burned, their skepticism is higher, plus it's also a very noisy time in the market, and everyone is using these generic terms that did work back in 2019, 2020, even previous to that. But now you need a super specific offer, but something that's also sexy that someone really wants. Like they would almost feel stupid saying no to this. Your next one here is then alignment. Now, when we have alignment, you need to be in alignment with what you're selling. Too often I get guys specifically join my program and they say things like, Josh, I want to work with 8-figure entrepreneurs because they make a lot of money, they're disciplined, you know, they're going to be the right kind of person for my program. But then that coach is 19 years old, literally still lives at home, doesn't have a physique that commands respect, and doesn't have the life receipts to, I guess, you know, feel like they're on the same level as that 8-figure entrepreneur. They're not going to give you time of day if you don't have any of the same sort of accolades that they have. So you have to be in alignment with your offer and your niche and your messaging. And this is why I love to base the niche on yourself. And generally what ends up happening is you sort of end up within a 5 to 10 year age range with your age. So usually it's like 5 years plus and minus of however old you are. So for example, I'm 31. I tend to get clients that join the program with me anywhere from sort of like 36, 37 down to sort of like that mid 20s range, because that's roughly 5 years above and below who I am, right? And I'm in alignment with what I'm also selling. So I've never done 100 grand a month in my business. And if I was trying to sell 100 grand a month, I'm going to be lying and it's going to be inauthentic, which means I'm out of alignment, and people will spot that. Same thing is if you're like, let's say an 18-year-old and you're trying to help 40-year-olds lose weight, they're not going to listen to you because you don't have the life experience they do. You're not in the same season as them, so you won't understand them. So it's just not going to work. So you have to be in alignment with who you're actually trying to help. And then the final one here is just having your messaging dialed in. It's really crucial in 2026 to have your messaging dialed in. If you don't have super amounts of specificity, if you're not using descriptive language, if you're not standing in the shoes of your ideal prospect and talking from their point of view, if you can't clearly articulate their pains, problems, and desires, you're going to have a very hard time making money online as a whole, but your ads will not work. But if you implement these things, I can guarantee you that your Instagram follower ads are going to make a lot more money. Hope you got some value from this, and I'll see you inside of the next video.